So, the Blade reboot has had major problems for the past 6 years. It was stuck in development while it went through different directors and cast members that came and went. One of those ideas was a set piece in the 1920s with Blade's daughter. This script was leaked on 4chan, then shared on Reddit. And here is a summary of what happens in this story. It plays out almost like a supernatural fairy tale, told from the perspective of Blade's daughter, Zora. It begins with Zora witnessing her mother being killed by a pack of vampires. Led by main villain Aaron Thorne, Aaron Pierre was supposed to play this role. A big part of the script is that vampire fathers pass their vampirism to their kids. Thorne is the son of one of the vampire elders who was recently killed by Blade, and the other elders have denied him his father's position since he's a half-black bastard. So he has gathered other outcast vampires to topple the elders. His plan is to sacrifice Zora and drink her blood, so he and his followers can become DayWalkers like Blade. Zora escapes and hides with this old voodoo lady her mother didn't want her to hang out with. Voodoo Granny calls for Blade. The vampires track down Zora and attack Voodoo Granny's house. Blade appears, kills one of the vampires, and Thorne escapes with the other three. Blade only shows up around page 15 of the script. Zora finds out Blade is her father. Voodoo Granny tells Blade that Zora is not safe in New Orleans. Blade takes Zora away, and Voodoo Granny gives her a silver locket before they leave. Blade drives Zora to the estate of Quincy Harker, a wealthy descendant of Jonathan Harker whose family finances vampire hunters for generations. There, Blade and Zora meet two other hunters, Rachel Helsing and Taj Nital. She is a descendant of Van Helsing and bonds with Zora, while Taj is an Indian warrior who has taken a vow of silence after his family was killed by vampires. Blade needs Harker's help to figure out why Thorne is after Zora. Blade learns about the ritual, which Blade and Harker both doubt would work. This is when Zora finds out Blade is a half-vampire and she is frightened. He explains how his mother was bitten while pregnant and that a vampire hunter named Jamal Afari raised him. Delroy Lindo would have played this role. Jamal runs a black settlement and Blade will take Zora there to hide. Blade and Zora take a train to Jamal's settlement. They bond during the trip and Blade reassures Zora that vampire children only develop a thirst when they hit puberty and only become true vampires when they first drink blood. Jamal trained Blade, but kicked him out when Blade lost control and killed Jamal's son. The Voodoo Granny is Jamal's ex-wife who loved Blade like a son and followed him to New Orleans. She created a potion to help Blade keep his thirst at bay. Blade fell in love with Zora's mother and got her pregnant. He left, unwilling to endanger her and Zora, but asked Voodoo Granny to watch over them. He then linked up with Harker and his network and began hunting vampires. Thorne and his men would attack the train, leading to a big action scene where they hunt Blade and Zora through the cars. Blade kills another of Thorne's followers and has a fight with Thorne before escaping with Zora as the train derails. They reach the settlement. Blade has a tense reunion with Jamal, but he agrees to shelter them. Zora learns Blade plans to leave her behind with Jamal and resume his crusade, and is sad. Jamal has a heart-to-heart with Blade, where he apologizes to Blade for being a bad father and chasing Blade away, and pleads Blade not to commit the same mistake with Zora. Thorne attacks the settlement with a bunch of vampires he created from the victims of the train crash. They destroy the settlement while Thorne kills Jamal and abducts Zora. Blade is captured and tortured after Thorne leaves. Rachel and Taj arrive, kill the vampires torturing Blade and rescue him. They go back to Harker's house to figure out where Thorne could have taken Zora. There, Blade connects the dots and figures out Harker sold them out to Thorne. That's how Thorne located them on the train and later on the settlement. Harker rationalizes they can use Thorne to wipe out the elders and then kill Thorne and his followers. Zora's life is a necessary sacrifice since the ritual won't work. Blade, Rachel, and Taj cut ties with Harker and leave him behind to rescue Zora. Harker later kills himself out of shame. Blade, Rachel, and Taj attack the temple where Thorne is preparing to sacrifice Zora, take out Thorne's followers, and we get fights between Blade and Thorne, Rachel and Thorne's henchwomen, and Taj and Thorne's henchmen. Taj is killed in the fight and dies in Rachel's arms. while Thorne gets the upper hand on Blade until Zora stabs Thorne with a silver locket, allowing Blade to catch a second wind and push Thorne towards the rising sun, where Thorne bursts into flames. The vampires had destroyed Blade's spare potion earlier, so he begins to succumb to the thirst and go feral, but Zora manages to get through and get him to control himself long enough for her to make some more potion. She learned it from Voodoo Granny. Rachel inherits Harker's fortune and keeps financing vampire hunters. Blade and Zora returns to New Orleans and reunite with Voodoo Granny. Zora realizes she can't stay with Blade because it's dangerous, and they part ways, with Zora staying with Voodoo Granny and Blade watching over her from the shadows. We then get a montage of Zora growing old, using Granny's potion to keep her thirst at bay. She never becomes a full vampire, ages like a normal person, marries, has kids, and dies of old age in the 90s. Blade attends the funeral and has a brief interaction with his granddaughter, who doesn't know who he is. He says he's an old friend of the family before walking back into the shadows. This ending reminds me of what I saw in the movie called Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, where these two endings are kind of similar, so maybe they saw this movie Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust and took inspiration from that ending. So this gives you an idea of what they were aiming for with this version of the script, but as we all know, they got rid of this idea, then tried other ideas until finally shutting down the Blade reboot completely, but he might be appearing in Midnight Suns. So what do you think about this script? Is it good or bad? Let me know. I'll see you later.
She was